Welcome back everybody, it's DestinysJesus here. Today we've got a brand new part of our 3-level series. This is basically a repeat of our very first episode in the series of the 3 levels of solo W key. Everybody's got absolutely insane at cracked at piece controlling and going for fighting and W king in general. So we're doing this based on some really important things. We're looking at a controller player with $0 in earnings and basically just breaking down what he's doing wrong and how to fix those mistakes that might be prevalent in your own gameplay. Then we're looking at Michael. Michael's absolutely insane at W king. He's a really low ping player and he's very good at fighting. We're looking at a couple mistakes that he makes as well as a bunch of things that you can learn. And then for our pro player, we're going to be looking at Noahreyli. You guys should know who he is. Literally the best mechanical player. He's also got some of the best aim in EU and in the world at the moment. And he's absolutely ridiculous to learn from and watch. So we're breaking down what he's doing correctly and how you can apply that into your gameplay in the current shotgun meta and the current crazy piece control W key meta. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you leave a like if you did. So for our beginner player, we're going to see a couple of big mistakes in his gameplay. First of all, just in his first fight, what we're going to be seeing here, as he jumps on this other player, he gets this massive amount of white damage and he kind of rushes the fight. It's the big thing I see in beginner players, especially when they get HP advantage like right here. They're just too eager to end the fight quickly. What you should do instead is try to play a much longer angle and try to minimize the amount of damage that you take while finishing the fight. And it's through, and here he just commits down as a straight 50-50, misses his first shot because he doesn't pre-aim where the guy's going to be correctly, and then he wins that fight at 90 HP. He lost 100 shield overall total and took 150 damage from a player with 1 HP and no mats in the open just because of how he played it. You need to play your angles a lot longer. Try to either spray as you come in as well with your SMG, could be good as well, or just play those long tack angles and minimize the amount of damage that you're taking. So in this first example from our semi-pro player, we're going to see a couple of really nice things and then one big mistake that I see players making at all levels. So as you can see them here, they take this initial right and peek, pretty good trade to take. And then as they drop down here, they get the back wall. Obviously, you could be getting this extra wall here just to prevent any reboxing. That is something that you can go ahead and do whenever you're looking for a box up on somebody. But normally prioritizing damage over piece control is probably the better thing to do in solos, especially at the moment. So get the crack tag. And as soon as they get that crack tag, this is the big mistake that I'm talking about. Players just initially just go into this kind of like, oh, I can just trade them and instantly win this fight because they're cracked and I've got this HP advantage. And that obviously is a good mentality to have, but you still need to do it in a way that doesn't take damage. What I'd recommend in this situation is basically do a top right edit on the wall here. Give yourself a right hand peek over this wall and avoid taking any damage. That will basically mean that as soon as he wins this fight, he's going to be 200 HP going to the next one. But the other player could have easily hit like 100 tag there. And instead now he's left on 144 HP going to the next fight. And the big thing with solos, and especially stacked solos where it's a lot more serious in events, it's just the fact that if you keep taking trades in fights, you're going to go into the next fight on more shambles HP. You're going to need to be winning the next engagement on 150 versus 200 versus 200 with bigs and minis, and it's going to be a lot more difficult. You need to make sure that you avoid those trades at all costs. In this next fight, our beginner player makes a couple of really crucial mistakes that are very easy to fix, and I'll show some just creative maps that you can do to fix this in the future as well. So first of all, just whenever you're instigating a fight, trying to get that HP advantage, what a player does here is actually takes height, and then from here he kind of messes up. As you go for a drop down shot like this, you need to prioritize either getting the damage shot or getting piece control. So you can see he gets a 20 tag, and then look he does. He just drops straight down. Could have gone for a full box opportunity on this other player, going for like a stair, floor, and 2 back walls. Would have been perfect to have full control on the guy. Instead, he drops down completely and tries to get another timing shot. Misses it. And then now here, this is another just small thing. He messes up how much spraying you have to do to get a wall one shot. So you can see he comes up, starts spraying the wall, doesn't get the wall 1 HP enough to go for a shotgun take, and the guy does the timing edit. What you can do if you just read these timing edits is just pull out your stair blueprint instead, and then place it inside the guy's box if you didn't have a cone. That would have been a perfect use in this situation. Instead, he gets caught out because he didn't get the wall 1 HP enough to go for a shotgun take. He gets caught out and chunked for a lot of damage. Now he gets the stair in, and he messes up his piece control. You can see what he's trying to do there was go for this wall to the side, out to the right, and then go for the rebox control on the guy. That's just something you need to practice a little bit more and creative. And then here as well, this is just really bad. I don't know what he's doing here. He's trying to do a close angle edit, and those are the most difficult kind of edits in Fortnite, and they're the most essential because you mess up one of those edits in game, there's a very high chance that you take a lot of damage and die. He ends up disengaging from this fight because he messed up and he doesn't really have the HP advantage to carry on, or even just be comfortable taking it, so he ends up just drifting away. Now this next thing is something you guys should know about, and it's just the fact you can zipline into people's boxes and break builds, but also you can do this and get piece control at the same time. So you can see here, Michael gets this front wall on the guy's box because of the zipline break, and then he also gets the top wall on the guy's box because of the zipline break. Now here he's got a really free W key. He knows his only option is to come towards him or to go out into the ravine, which is obviously not the best play. So he's a very free W key from this point. Just something to keep in mind that whenever you're W keying and you see a zipline near you, you can break it and go for piece control from there. This fight is a really good example of trying to contain your opponent on your layer and also just understanding how you can predict somebody's movement with good piece control. First of all, Noah's fighting this guy from the low ground, doesn't have a mats to go up. As he drops, he gets this wall ahead of himself, and then look what he prioritizes. Getting the cone up top and the back walls. Once he has this back walls, he's not even worried about the front wall because he knows he has a chance to go around and go for the side peaks and get damage on the guy through that way. So he gets a small tag through the window, then he comes around as a jumping right hand peak just like this. The guy, luckily, is a stare out. And now look, Noah reads where the guy's going, pre-places builds in front of him, and look what he prioritizes. Again, the cones to make sure that he can't go up and he is contained and stuck on this layer. He also, instead of going for the back walls here, decides to just pull out his shotgun and take the duel, mainly because he knows he's got the HP advantage on this guy and needs to make sure that the guy doesn't just run his face and two-tack him. So he takes out his shotgun. Now, after he gets that crack tag and the guy has not pulled out a shotgun yet, he goes to the back wall, contain the guy in, and then wins the duel just like this. Really good example of understanding what walls and pieces you own around somebody, and also just how you can predict somebody as they move around to place builds ahead of them. This is something you can do whenever you're W king towards somebody who's got the high ground on you. What Noah does here is he double edits over towards the guy, then he snaps his crosshair, looks on top of the guy's wall, and gets the floor cone. Cone slide inside the box. Now he commits to the jump in and wins the end duel just like that. So as Noah W keys towards the other guy, notice how he doesn't immediately just jump into the box. Instead, he tries to play and wait for this trade, and he also gets this really nice timing shot. So he's playing around this right hand peak here. Gets the free timing shot. That's something you can do basically is whenever you're jumping up or just going above somebody and you know that there's a chance that they might hit it, just pre-fire them and just pre-fire the wall. Either you get the wall 1 HP and you can go for a pickaxe swing, or you get free damage like he did there. Now, as he commits forward, he gets his shot, and look at the really good piece control that he goes for here. First of all, he's getting this wall, and then look at the crosshair placement. He snaps his crosshair over and tries to get this wall in front of the guy as the guy's building it. Now, most bad players, especially when they're reboxing, the last wall that they build will be the one behind them. Instead of editing through and then resetting it as they turn around, they'll leave this massive open wall, and it's an opportunity for you, if you're chasing them, to go ahead and grab it. That's what Noah does here, and notice the edit he does. He cone slides, gets the white tag, and again, this really nice smart wall edit where he's completely hidden until he jumps up, just minimizing the amount of damage he takes, and never allows bad players to get damage on him. Jumps up, wins the fight. This is a really important example when it comes to just understanding your opponent's crosshair when you're in a box with them, and also just how to use the hot rock crystals effectively to get in people's boxes. So Noah's pushing towards this guy, and what he does is get the wall 1 HP, then he shotgun exploits in just like this. Probably the best way to do it because it means you can instantly shoot again with your tack. It's a free damage tag, and the guy out trades him here. They're both 1 HP in the box situation, around 70 to either shotgun. So how do you win this fight without when you're in the guy's full box and he's all of these edits on you? What Noah does really and smartly is the fact that he reads where the guy is. He's high elevated up on this ramp here. I'll just draw him in so you guys can see him clearly because of Noah's effects. And where is his crosshair going to be? It's something very important to think about. His crosshair is obviously going to be aimed down, pre-aiming where Noah is, maybe even pre-aiming an edit off to the right if he was to do a trade edit. So Noah reads this. He knows the guy's looking down because he's elevated up and Noah's on low ground. So what Noah does, as he breaks the ramp, he jumps up and over the guy's crosshair. The guy's still staring at the floor as you can see here, and he wins the trade. Really smart play you can do, just understanding where the opponent's crosshair is in a box fight situation and how to use that against them. This is a really good example of using the audio cues in a mid-game fight to your advantage. So here we can see Michael getting pressures from a bunch of opponents around him, and he's kind of just playing around. This guy takes his wall, and you hear that. You hear the guy's shotgun click of him reloading his tack, and what that tells Michael is the fact that he can just instantly go for a counterplay and make kind of a brave edit where he's exposed, because he knows the guy's not going to be able to get a shot off. It's a free crack tag like that, and then this fight's pretty easy from here. I'll play it back just one more time so you can hear it. He hears the audio clicking of the guy loading his shells and instantly goes for that edit and is very confident in doing it. He knows the guy can't get that shot off, and then from here this is a very easy fight. He's already cracked the guy as they aggress further and there's other third parties in the area.
Leave the car to move.
Comes forward, wins the trade, and this is actually a very nice escape kind of thing you can do. Just edit your cone behind you, give yourself a little bit of breathing room where you can get out and play around coming into the next guy. Now these next two examples are just small things you can do with in-game mechanics to catch your opponents off guard. First of all, is just going for a bait rift play. He does this, then he remains completely silent and he knows his other player is going to try to recycle it. Gets him the 100 tag, and then what he does after the 100 tag is just he forces full piece control and gets the cone inside the box. This cone here is a really crucial thing, so it means the other guy has no option apart from aiming dueling Michael when he's got this massive HP advantage, so it's extremely likely he wins this fight. In this fight, there's two really nice defensive ideas that you can do and apply into your own gameplay from Michael here. First of all, it's just important to making a 2x1 and also using the space of the 2x1. With a purple tack, he can basically play this range, and he's also let this guy take his wall. He hasn't even tried to held it. He's let the guy take his wall, and he's going to try to go for a timing shot as the guy makes an edit where he's pulled out his pickaxe or he's just exposed. So he's going to try to go for that timing shot and then reset his wall if the other guy was to make a bad edit. The guy unfortunately doesn't make that edit. He just instead goes up. So now we're going to look at another idea that he does in a second, and it's basically how he's playing around from these defensive angles on low ground. He's taking really smart peeks. He gets chunked for a little bit. Doesn't want to trade into those angles. So here he goes for a mini play. And this mini play, the guy hit him like 60 or something. He's probably thinking that Michael is going to try to pop 2 minis. So this kind of acts as a bait tail. So he basically pops 1 mini and then he instantly edits, gives himself a right hand peek underneath this floor here, gets that crack. And then just a good example of the fact that you can exploit in from low ground, jump straight in on the guy, would have been in regardless if the guy opened or not. In this next fight, we're going to see our beginner player instigate a fight on his other opponent. He tries to go for a full box up here. And this is where I just think he's just rushing way too much. He's rushing, he's not looking where the opponent is, and he's taking kind of bad angles and trades. He ends up getting a nice tag there where he gets the crack, so they're both about around the same HP. What I think he should have done in this situation is try to play for an angle where he won't get traded. Either some kind of top right edit from above would work nicely here. What he does instead is actually a really nice play where he drops down and gets his close wall control. Now, where it's very important when you're low HP is you look where the opponent is in the box. That's kind of the downside of performance mode, is you can't precisely see where they are. So what he decides to do is do a left-hand edit, which gives the opponent the right-hand peek, and then go instantly for the straight trade. He wins it by like a fraction of a millisecond where he shot first, because they were both putting the shotguns out at the same time. And that's probably the worst way you want to play that. Again, he's coming out that fight on 1 HP, and he's taking way too much damage while winning the fight. What I think a better way to approach this fight would have been, is when he gets this close-hand wall here, just think about what kind of edit you could do. What edit would work in this situation? A top half wall where you crouch behind the cone and the peek over could have worked. A top right clicks peek could have worked really effectively here, just playing around, giving yourself a right hand peek advantage, or even just looking, the opponent is close to the wall, you could do a right hand window, even a middle window in some cases if you jump and get a free shot through it as the opponent is too close to really properly trade you. You always got to be looking at where your opponent is and taking your time in your fights. Don't try to rush and be too mechanical. Play a lot more slow, play your angles, and play a lot more smart on your trade peaks to reduce the amount of damage you take. In this next fight, our semi-pro player Michael makes a couple of really nice plays at the start, and there's just one small thing that you can tweak and apply into your own gameplay going into the future if you're watching this video. First of all, is just this cone play that he does. He runs forwards, gets the close wall, swings to the left hit, and then swings back out to get the right hand peek, as you can see here. And this is always very useful. You always want to be trying to go for those very safe right hand peeks off spawn when you don't know whether somebody's going to be 100 HP with no shield, whether somebody's going to be 200 HP with slurpfish. You need to approach every single fight like somebody's 200 HP, and they could jump out and trade you extremely heavily. So he does a very smart peek initially. Another free, very safe, nice damage shot. Now here, this is where he actually does a really creative stare at it. Basically just gives himself this Mongol classic angle where he's allowing himself a variety of different right hand peeks. He can either right hand peek at the low point here, he can right hand peek further back, and also just blocks the opponent's POV and gives himself this kind of free advantage. So he gets the crack tag, very nice Mongol peek again, Mongol stare at it, and then this is just something, instead of spamming forward with this kind of scuff situation, you put yourself in the guy's ramp, obviously trying to finish the fight, you just hit 80 white. What you can go ahead and do, this is something I learned from Mr. Savage, is always trying to be looking at what utility items do you have. In this case, he's the blue sniper, which is loaded, and a harpoon, so you can easily use these and play around the right hand peak. So again, not taking that trade. So play around that right hand peak where you can give yourself the advantage of not taking any damage to close the fight like he does here. He gets in a bit too close, ends up getting the cone side, takes that trade at the end. Again, it's just a very minor thing, but you can be using those utility items. Snipers especially are spawned something Savage the whole time, where he snipe replaces things and it catches people off guard the entire time. In this example from our pro player Noahreyli, we're going to be looking at what he does in terms of his movement and how he can use that to his advantage in a close quarters fight. First of all, he just takes his wall take versus this guy. Then he does kind of an iffy edit where he doesn't have the best shot. Still doesn't equal trade. Now for this next shot, he does something really interesting. So he does a full tile edit on the right hand side, and then he jumps intentionally to the top right. So he basically is like a weird kind of jump where he goes across like that way against the other guy's screen and gets out the way of his trade. And now he's in a really perfect situation to come back in and hit a rank peak, especially because the guy wasted his shot. It's a really good example. Whenever you're going for an edit, think about how you can jump or crouch to get out the way of their line of sight and then give yourself a rank peak afterwards, just like he does here. So as Noahreyli coming towards this last guy, I'm going to make sure you guys just be really aware of the fact and look what he's doing when it comes to actually repositioning around the box. Instead of just approaching from the same angle over and over, he's constantly switching up his angles and also doing this really nice trick where you phase something. I covered this in a video about literally just 2 years ago at this point probably, where you can phase builds through that. You basically crouch and look down and you always phase builds through a wall just like that. So here he repositions his angles, completely swaps up, repositions going downwards. Again, that phasing trick. And now look, instead of coming in from this side angle here, he completely switches 180 degrees, repositions this way. Because of the way he phased in that stay, he knows the guy can't rebox out this way and also can't go up at this point. Here he goes to the wall take. Notice as soon as the wall's 1 HP, he knows there's a chance the guy could rebox to the one available side. He pre-builds that fully, blocks it off and full boxes it as well. Now he goes in for the wall take. This guy's got really good ping, so it takes a couple tries. Just look at this angle that he does at the very end here. It's a very good angle to just minimize the amount of damage you can take. Is as you go for the wall placement, is swing back and go from behind the cone. Now from this guy's POV, he really can't see too much of Noah exposed. Noah should ideally be trying to be right hand peeking around the side of the cone, or just crouch peeking over the top would work perfectly. Very good example of the fact that you can use cones as you're pressuring somebody's wall, as well as just those phasing tricks, which I'll show you creative in a second.